Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, August 4th, and we're getting some exciting price action to start the day, CJ. Not too shabby at all. I know you're posting the 4-hour chat in or 4-hour chart in the chat. We'll talk about that, what that means for the alts some have already run, and we'll take a look at some that maybe have yet to run as well. And it's also Wednesday, so that means we have the young phenom, the crypto kid here for his segment as well. So we'll get to all of that and more. But how are you doing on this fine Wednesday morning, CJ?
I'm doing good. Busiest busiest day of the week for us. Also, it's really interesting to see this price action. We talked earlier in the week about price having to go all the way back to the 20 SMMA on like the daily, but it's holding the Fibonacci level, that 2-3 Fibonacci level at just about, let me see the exact measurements, just at about 37.6. And so the ability to hold that might prove to be enough support, but we'll see. The fact that we're getting a bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour combined with, a pretty bullish hammer candle at the bottom of a downtrend on the daily, it's pretty promising so far. And it leads me to imply that, if we see this as a continuation, that support may have been enough for our macro higher low.
Yeah, CJ, I'm inclined to agree with you here, and I'm very encouraged by the strength we're seeing. We were talking earlier this week about how, if we got that bounce and we put in that macro higher low, that would be the sort of conviction we need to see to go long in a lot of these alts. We're seeing a lot of alts pop already. One we talked about yesterday was comp that has moved up to the 200 period moving average. And I want to talk today about a lot more alts that I think could have the potential to run if this truly was a macro higher low, because I think a lot of these alts are going to move super quick to their previous all-time highs. So we'll take a look at some of those a bit later in the show. But you want to dive into the Bitcoin chart? I know you were taking a look at the 4-hour chart and showing some pretty interesting strength that the price action was showing.
Yeah, we're going to touch a lot on charts. I just wanted to ask you, did you get a chance to see Gary Gensler and his speech yesterday? Maybe we should touch on that and maybe some of the takeaways before we get into the charts. I mean, first, I guess I'll just start saying I don't know how they're going to impose certain regulations on the DeFi space, especially when they're in international jurisdictions. A lot of these projects have grown now to the point in which they're pretty sufficiently decentralized and can't be shut down at any single point of failure. So, I don't know how they're going to do that per se. But it seems like once he actually started talking, it was a lot like less, I guess, like shock value than just a headline saying Gary Gensler calls for more regulation on crypto and to increase funding. Like, it's not a bad thing to protect people generally from rug pulls and generally risky DeFi assets. So I didn't think it was too negative on the crypto space, and that wasn't reflected in price action at all.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I was kind of surprised that we got bullish price action today. You know, it wasn't all that negative. You're right, we need regulation, but there were some things that I think were not very encouraging. The fact that, he was very quick to get to the whole anti-money laundering and, fraud argument for crypto. And also he seemed very set in the fact that, there are already precedents set that should dictate how these things are governed going forward. I would disagree with that. I think a lot of precedents are being set right now. We're seeing a lot of applications of this financial technology that we've never seen in the past. So to imply that, the provisions set up by his predecessor are going to be sufficient to, govern this sector, I think is, a bit optimistic. I think we're already seeing, DeFi products pop up that are just completely, novel. So it's going to be interesting to see how they govern this going forward.
Nice. All right. Well, with that being said, why don't we hit the charts? I'll jump in.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's go down to the daily first, just to start. But here we have our fib levels very clearly highlighted. We also have that 20 SMMA as well. But these are the critical levels, what we have here. It's really nice to see a bounce from that level. Like we were saying before, now we have a chance to visualize it with the chart here, but we actually are finding support at this level for the time being. So that may be sufficient enough not to have to, go all the way down to the 20 SMMA. Another point is that the SMMA is coming up and will likely be at or near this level within the next week or two if price should just kind of stay in this consolidation. The other thing I want to focus on is the 4-hour chart, because I think it gives us clues to the overall trend. And if we zoom out here, we can see that the moving average really led us up, and we really remained above that moving average ever since our capitulation event and our last test of the low at around 29.5. So I want to stay above the moving average from a bullish perspective. And right now, the trend is having a lot of difficulty after our recent pump in the last hour or so. We're running into that moving average and we're getting rejected from price. So in order to have sustained bullish momentum, I want to see a close at or above that level. And, until we do that, it's tough to say if this is just a reaction rally after, 2 sequential sequences. And, is that going to be it? Are we just going to be rejected from this level and having to test down once again? We'll see. But I haven't seen the ferocious dip buying energy that I would like to see from the bullish perspective.
Yeah, we're not quite getting that volatility that you'd expect with, a true macro high or low. But we had some questions in chat that I saw you addressing earlier this morning, CJ, and I think that they're very important ones. And Matthew Kerwin was asking you, what are you waiting for in terms of daily candles? We're getting like a bit of a hammer candle today. What would you like to see in terms of a price action tomorrow for more conviction that this was in fact a macro high or low?
Well, it could be a variety of answers. We could, if we just consolidate and stay above the Fibonacci level, that 2-3 level, that is the most important thing. Even if we stay above that level and just do nothing for 2 weeks, that's still a nice higher low if we can, get some bullish momentum and springboard off of that level. Obviously, I would like to see, a continuation of bullish price action following a hammer candle. That would be very nice. And typically we do see that when we have hammer candles at the bottom of downtrends. So, it could be a variety of those scenarios.
Okay, we'll be watching out for those. And in terms of ETH, ETH is at a very important crossroads, in my opinion, here. Looking at the chart, it's moving in the positive direction, as is Bitcoin. But I think what's different is, it's pushing up against some very critical resistance here, whereas Bitcoin, like we just mentioned, is kind of putting in that higher low. I think ETH is going to hit some trouble here at around, 2,700. This has been a critical resistance level for ETH over the last 6 months. When we were in the downtrend, we had a very hard time bouncing back above this level, and that was sort of dictated by the smooth moving average. But one thing is sort of another kind of bearish indication is the fact that we're still extended beyond the 200-day simple moving average. I want to take a look at some more moving average strategies. If you're in the room, I use moving averages a lot for, not just trading strategies in terms of, dictating where assets are in terms of like the crypto market, well, if they're overbought relative to Bitcoin or oversold relative to Bitcoin. But I think you can use these as kind of a great example of where you can find support and resistance as well. So, ETH is hitting some critical resistance here. I'm expecting a turn down to these levels back here. But if Bitcoin continues to rip to the upside, ETH can rip up as well. And breaking above this critical level of about 2,800, then would be in uncharted territory, because this was really kind of an anomalous event fueled by retail leveraged capital that we were only in for less than, a 2.5 week period. So if we can break above 2,800, that'd be very bullish for ETH, but I don't expect that to happen given the current momentum that we're seeing. But that being said, CJ, should we hop to our every Wednesday segment? Actually, it wasn't last Wednesday because he was at camp, but he is back this week. So should we hop to the young phenom, the crypto kid, Jace. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Sorry that I missed you guys last week. I did earn another $50. I did use it to buy Monero, which I'm really trying to save up stack Monero. Even though the former developer Ricardo, aka Fluffy Pony, was arrested for 10 years, trumped up fraud charges, which is really messed up. In South Africa. I don't think this will put a negative impact on Monero. Um, I also do plan on keep investing as well as Bitcoin and Doge. Next week I do start school. I plan on being a strong advocate for crypto by wearing crypto related clothing and preaching to all my fellow classmates. Hopefully I can get them bright minded about crypto. So hop on board. Let's do this. Raise the price. Um, so I hope that really inspires them. Um, I already have plans when it comes to the science project. Me and my grandpa are going to complete the Bitcoin Light, Lightning ATM, which only accepts coins, and where they can turn their spare change into sats. So once they get that bright minded about Bitcoin, they're like, I can change my money, put it in a little machine, and get sats sent straight to my phone. And it's purely non KYC. So
I like it. That's very true with your Monero ethos, Jace. You're all about the privacy. I love to hear it. You're also so you're starting at a new school, is that right?
yes, sir.
Are you excited for that? What do you think that's going to be like?
I think it's gonna be a very good lesson. I mean, I've been to one school, I've never been to another school, so it's gonna like shake my nerves a little bit, but
Hey, you're a very bright kid. I'm sure you're going to thrive there like you did at your last school. So, best of luck to you, Jace. Thank you so much for the analysis. And I'm really excited to hear how that science project develops because I got a big jar of spare change here that I would love to turn into some sats. So, let me know when you got that completed. All right.
okay.
All right. Take care, buddy. We'll see you again next week.
All right.
That spare change idea is actually a really good idea because I think Chase and many like massive consumer retail banks stopped like accepting coins and change to give you dollars, or at least they used to fleece you for like 15%. Um, but yeah,
And I love how it's completely non KYC. Love that.
that's good for the kids under 18. Make sure they use the rebel code.
Yeah, we should get a nice referral deal going with that little ATM there. But CJ, we talked a lot about some alts that could potentially be set to rip if we continue to see this price action with Bitcoin. So should we hop into some doges of the day? Anything in particular that you've been looking at? Yesterday, you rattled off like 8 assets for us. So lots of opportunity here.
Yeah, and I'm still watching those assets because, like the point you made earlier with Bitcoin and ETH, while some of these altcoins, I mean, Luna comes to mind, especially, while those may be overextended, if Bitcoin keeps ripping to the upside, and this is the bottom here at that Fibonacci level, I still see the alts going much higher. I think something like what you talked about yesterday and a couple days before being comp could continue to perform well. Also, what I've been looking at in terms of volume has been band protocol. I like how we're seeing some volume come in on the 4 hour charts. That'd be my Doge of the day today. But a lot of those assets that I mentioned yesterday on that list that are specifically above their Williams alligator moving averages, as well as the 20 smooth moving average, if they're above there with some bullish candles and decent volume, I'm interested in them with this potential future uptrend. So, what
Yeah,
about you, Matt?
absolutely.
You got a Doge of the day today?
I do. And not only do I have a Doge of the day, but I have, a similar moving average strategy that it's not even similar. I think it can be used in confluence with your strategy, because the fact that we've been seeing such volatile price action earlier in the year, and we saw such a heavy sell-off in a lot of these alts that are now above their smooth moving average, like you pointed out, the shorter period moving averages. Looking at their divergences from the 200 simple moving average, I think is a great depiction of whether or not it's overbought or oversold. So I'm taking a look at a bunch of different assets and their location relative to their moving averages. And one in particular that I'm going to talk about right now, I'm going to go a lot more into depth in this in our webinar today. But one in particular that I want to start by talking about today is DOT, because that is an asset that has sold off, very hard relative to its moving average. And I think it can really gain a lot of ground based on where it's at relative to its simple moving average and also, its smooth moving average. So as you can see, this is a large negative divergence, much more significant than what we're seeing in most other assets. And also, like CJ pointed out, this thing has gotten above its 20 period simple moving or smooth moving average. And also, I don't have in mind right now, but the Williams alligator as well is beginning to turn up for DOT. And what I like about, not only using these strategies with, a high target that's far off current price, but also you have strong support to the downside here with DOT. You have the simple moving or the smooth moving average turning up. You've got these critical levels at 15.3. And then, worst case scenarios, you have these very critical levels. But to me, this right here is very encouraging. I talked about how in comp yesterday, we were seeing a kind of an increase in volume over the last 2 weeks. We're seeing the exact same thing in DOT here. Just a nice uptick in bullish price action. So I think that's very encouraging. Although we've kind of seen a fall off in volume over the last 2 days, that was bearish volume. And now we're getting a nice uptick in price, positive price action. And I think that the move up to this moving average right here is going to happen very quick. So I entered a DOT position yesterday. I've been holding DOT to earn that interest on Voyager, 12%. But I think now, in terms of dollar cost averaging and in terms of potential price action in the next 2 weeks, DOT is looking primed for takeoff. So that is why I'm choosing it as my Doge of the day today. How about you? What you got for us, my friend?
Band protocol, as well as just looking at Luna for kind of continuation. If we see, a further bounce. Actually, I do think Luna is a bit overextended. I mean, it's on a hell of a run. But nonetheless, I do think like all those assets we had mentioned yesterday and, where they lie in relation to their moving average is very important. So bands, Serum was another one that was doing a lot of volume, but a lot of those assets are still kind of in the ballpark for a nice Doge of the day type trade.
Yeah. We have a few questions here in the chat, CJ. We have this one here from Munir. He says, what do you think on StormX? And we also had one other question as well regarding an end of year price prediction for StormX. I can't find it right now. Oh, it's also from him. StormX price prediction end of year. For me, I'm going to go a conservative route and say that, I think that StormX will likely finish this year, contingent on the price action of the rest of the market, obviously. But if we do get that move into, the 6 figures for Bitcoin, which I still adamantly believe we will, I think that an asset like StormX will likely, regain everything it lost earlier in the year. So looking at StormX, I think a 10-cent price target by end of year is actually a very conservative price target, given that it almost hit that level to start the year. And now, like I've pointed out several times, they've established some very legitimate marketing partnerships. They've onboarded lots of new members on their app and have, consistently increased the amount of StormX stake through their app as well. So they haven't given up everything, just, a lot of the price of their underlying asset. I think that when this thing does move, it's going to move quick. So a conservative price estimate for StormX end of year, I think, is about 10 cents.
I'm going to double down on that prediction at 10 cents as well. The thing you just got to kind of keep in mind with StormX and a lot of these assets that have 10 billion in total circulating supply is if it goes to $5 or $2, like that has to be supported by a $20 billion market cap or a $50 billion market cap, which is a company like Ford or, GM or something like that. So just, I think 10 cents is very conservative. I don't even want to say $1 yet, because StormX at a $10 billion market cap, I think it could do it, but I don't know if it's going to do it yet in this market cycle. It's going to be contingent on Bitcoin and the retail speculation that we get. But speaking of retail speculation, how about Hood this morning up 40%, and there aren't even options on it. So
that is absolutely insane. What do you think is happening? Are just the apes trading that, or?
yeah, I hope Kathy Wood's taken some profit after buying it on the first day of the IPO. Good for her.
Yeah.
But it shows you people, like, they're still in the market and there's still speculative fervor going on.
Oh yeah. There's the retail traders love those profits. They're looking for them everywhere. And yeah, if you're a retail trader, definitely come check out our room. You can try it for just $1 for the first month. We got a lot going on in there. We got a 24/7 chat. We got we publish actionable trade insights. We publish news. We got a pro charting service like you just saw with our charts in this show. As always, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. If you want to go over there, you can trade 60 plus assets. You can earn interest on a lot of them as well. Like I mentioned, you can earn up to 12% interest on DOT. I've been holding that for a while now, and those interest payments are very sweet when they hit, CJ. They hit this weekend. Oh, that feels good. But yeah, I think that's about all we got for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. But as always, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care.